Welcome back to By Design, an Acast Network podcast. I'm your host, Whitney Young, and I'm so glad you're here. Today's episode is a delicate one because it involves real people's real lives. I wanted to have Becky on the podcast because there are three sides to every story. And we have heard the other two sides of this particular story because the other two people involved have very large platforms. The third person, whose story we've not heard, does not have as big of a platform, did not have any platform when all of this started. And I know for a fact, because I've seen comments and I've seen people say that they really would like to know what this person's experience was. And the person I'm talking about is today's guest, Becky Missal, who will be sharing her story and her experience for the first time. She's never been on a podcast. She's turned down many podcasts and opportunities to speak on this out of grace and class. And at this point, she just simply felt ready to share her side of the story. I want to make it very clear that this is not to drag anyone or assassinate anyone's character, but what happened a couple years ago, was a really crazy, chaotic thing. And I just simply think that Becky's experience of what happened is important and matters and deserves to be heard. So there's no ill will toward the other people involved. It just is what it is. This is the other side of the story that you haven't heard. So please, if you are a fan or a stan of the other two people, that's fine. Totally get it. I would ask just that maybe you, instead of hating here, just channel those feelings into love for those people and take it to their pages. And remember that everyone, including the person, Becky, who's about to be on, they're all just real people. They're all real people with real feelings, and things that happen on social media have a very tangible, real life impact. We tried to do this in the kindest, most considerate way possible in terms of the other people, while also allowing Becky that space and that opportunity to speak on her experience in a truthful, authentic way. So yeah, I hope this kind of serves as like a tying of the bow on things. Because I know it's been a very long couple years for Becky, and yeah. All right, here we go.
I did not shave my legs, so hopefully it's not that HD.
It's not. No,
okay.
No, I can't afford that level of quality where it's like you can see each individual hair.
Yeah, right. I'm like, well, let's get some like smoothing technology.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so this is the first time you've ever been on a podcast.
Yes, I was just telling you how nervous that I am.
So nervous that you picked all of your quickie nails off.
Literally.
On the way here
Bailey.
in the car.
I had press-on nails on, and I was being so neurotic. I was just like ripping them off.
Yeah, well, I'm sure Bailey will be happy to get you more quickie nails, but I'm sure it's a self-soothing, it's a nice soothing thing to just rip.
It's nice because it's like the same. It does the same thing as like biting your nails.
Yeah.
But you don't actually have to bite your nails.
Yes.
Because they're
right. Do you bite your nails?
I do bite my nails.
I'm a cuticle biter. I'm
a cuticle like picker.
Yeah. It's really like I'm looking at them.
I'm like putting my hands underneath,
we just
hiding
sit
them.
On our hands.
Yes. Yes. I'm a little nervous. I feel like my heart is like racing.
I think that's natural and normal given the context here.
Yeah, I think like I was telling you a little bit, but I've been asked to do stuff before, and I think it's always been this feeling of, I don't know, if you look at my social media, I feel like Instagram especially, you can't really get a sense of who I am.
Yeah.
Like I genuinely just post hot pictures of myself. And it's always been that way. And it's a defense mechanism. It's like if someone says something really nasty about me or attacks my character, it's so much easier to say, you don't know me.
Yeah.
And you don't know my personality. And I've always been scared that if I do something like this, which is like longer form content and more conversation, and you like say things that are personal, and you're kind of opening up to be not only judged, but I fear that it will feel more personal.
Yeah.
If someone says something, I'm like, ooh, that's like actually about me.
Yeah.
Versus like, you don't know me.
Right. I totally understand that. And that's very vulnerable and like courageous of you to say and to admit that, because I think, like when you actually put yourself out there and there is something authentic for people to judge, like they understand you and they're judging you, it hurts a lot more. It's more personal. It is personal.
It's also like a double-edged sword, because if you don't show people who you are, they will create who you are.
Yes.
And they'll create this perception of you that's often based on their own projections.
Absolutely.
You know, or this narrative they've already created and you're a character in it. And so you have to be a certain way to fit the narrative that they've come up with. And then they will view any piece of content that you put out through that framework.
Confirmation of their bias about you. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like crazy. I could post a TikTok and there could be two people. One person, am I allowed to curse on here?
Oh yeah, okay. Absolutely.
One person has decided that I'm a bitch, and another is like, oh, Becky's funny. That same TikTok, one person will be like, look, see, she's attention seeking, she's drama, blah, blah, blah. The other will be like, oh my gosh, she's poking fun at a situation. She's so unserious.
Yes.
It's like they have decided.
Yeah.
So I'm yapping. I'm a yapper.
No, that is
the point.
No, that is the whole purpose of the podcast. I'm a professional yapper. This is all I do. So yapping is welcome. To that point, I guess, who do you think people, like, what are the narratives that you see people having about you?
Oh gosh.
To start on a light note.
Right? I think it was tough because I had an interesting introduction to social media.
Yes.
Where I didn't have my own content. I wasn't creating content in the hopes of gaining followers.
Right.
And, it was sort of like thrust upon me in a way that I felt a story was already sort of written. And I was like, enter stage left, Becky, this character of,
it is a character for sure.
Exactly. And I think for me, it's so hard to just like put it into a sentence without context, but obviously with the Becky So Hot situation, it was very much people having this story that I was entered into, and that was their first introduction to me as a person. Right. Because even before, when I was dating my girlfriend at the time, she obviously has a big platform. Yeah. And that was a conversation we had, you will get some people, commenting or following or whatever, but it was honestly very chill and normal until that.
Okay,
situation.
so let's back up because there's I already have questions.
There's so much. Okay.
First of all, okay, I'm like rewinding myself.
Yes.
I need like the rewind sound effect.
Literally like
yeah. Okay, so first of all, you've never spoken about anything that we're about to get into, which really speaks to your grace and class, because it was it looked pretty traumatizing from as an outsider. I know I don't even know what I would do in a situation like that. So
that's very kind of you to say. First of all, I think that was always tough for me too. I think there was a lot of people when I didn't say anything, validating that, but almost too far, where I'm like, I can't say anything. Yeah. Because that would show that, I don't know, it never felt like a good time, and it was always like, has it been too long now? And I know there's going to be people who are like, why are you talking about
Get
this now?
over it. Yeah, why now? Oh my God. Yeah, of course.
Honestly,
no matter what.
I finally feel so far removed from it where I can speak about it without it being triggering. Yeah. And for so long I couldn't. I was like, I just can't. I can't even, like, it was just too much.
I can only imagine. I've never been through anything remotely close to it, so I can only imagine. But Okay, so prior to
Yes.
the thing we're referencing, let's
Yes.
talk about how did you meet your ex? And did you know who she was when you met her?
Okay. So basically what happened was I was living in Jersey. I'm born and raised in Jersey. And little bit of context to my life. I'm one of 6 kids.
Okay.
So I have a lot of siblings. We were all homeschooled growing up. We're very close in age. We're just very close.
Yeah.
So 3 of my siblings had been living in LA for a few years. They're like actors and singers and whatever.
Cool.
And I knew I eventually wanted to move to LA. I got really bad seasonal depression in Jersey.
Such a mood, yes. As an East Coaster, Northeaster, yes.
You get it. And so I knew I wanted to move out, but I sort of needed a push or a reason to move. And all of their leases were up at the same time.
Okay.
And they said, hey, we're all going to move into a house together. They called me.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, if this is the push you're looking for, why don't you come and move in with us?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, this is awesome.
Oh, that is amazing. So it's you and 3 siblings in one house.
And my boyfriend that I had at the time.
Yeah.
Which honestly, like I've talked to him about this since, but that was the moment we really should have broken up.
Looking back, it's all hindsight is 2020 always.
It was truly like a last ditch effort.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, I'm moving.
Yeah.
I'm moving. And he was like, I'll come with you.
Yeah.
So I move, and this was like, it was a few months before the pandemic.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I moved, and then like I was here maybe 3 months. I barely moved my stuff in.
Yeah.
We go into lockdown. It's just
What a nightmare. Oh my
you know
God.
what? I try to see it as yes.
Yeah.
It was such a strange time to move to a new city and not know anybody.
Right.
But also it was this sort of childhood healing journey because I was in this like family style house with my siblings.
Yeah.
We had a garden and we did movie nights, and I just think about how many people were genuinely so negatively affected actually by the pandemic.
Yes.
That I really am like feel lucky
Yeah.
to have had that experience, but it was also super bizarre.
It's still, it was still a fever dream and terrifying at times.
Exactly.
But you had some silver lining there. That's nice.
Always try to find the silver lining. So I move in, and then a few months into living there, when I had moved in, my younger sibling was dating a girl, and that girl had a roommate. That roommate would then become my girlfriend.
Oh,
eventually.
okay.
Yeah, so that's how I met her.
Okay.
Right? So she came over my house one day, and I met her, and I had no idea who she was.
Okay.
I didn't even know that I was queer yet.
Oh,
yeah. I
okay.
had never dated a girl.
Fascinating. Yes.
I had 2 boyfriends prior. I'd only been with guys. I had never even thought about my sexuality, to be honest. And I met her, and there was definitely a vibe, like a connection, but we both were in relationships. It was very much just like friends, flirty, but innocent.
Right.
And no, I didn't know anything. I did not know the lore. I just didn't know.
Yeah.
And especially I think when you live in LA, or like before that I lived in New York for a bit, it's so normal to meet people who just randomly have a lot of followers.
Absolutely.
You don't even really think about it. Like I have so many friends with like millions of followers that I'm like, I guess if I sat back, I'd be like, oh, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But you just don't really think
No.
that way.
No, it does become normalized when you, New York, LA especially, with all the content creators and influencers and all of that. It's like, you're almost a minority if you don't have a following out here.
Literally.
So it's, yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, we were friends, and then a few months into the pandemic, I was in Jersey. We'd taken like a road trip to visit my parents, and me and my boyfriend broke up, and it was around the same time that her and her girlfriend had also broken up.
Okay.
And they kind of had like an on and off thing for a while, but it was the final like,
this is it.
Yeah.
It's over.
Right. Right. So I'm like, allegedly, but yes.
Yeah, right.
I was there. Yes, it was over.
Or so we thought.
Yeah. Well, true. So we were single around the same time. And I think that was honestly something that brought us close quick.
Yeah, especially during the pandemic, during lockdown or, you know, all that going on.
It was very much like we could relate to what each other was going through. And it's so strange because I never had this like moment of, oh my God, I like girls too, you know? And that to me it's sort of a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
I know it's privilege and that so many of my friends have been through horrible, you know, situations or experiences where they would be with guys and just know that it wasn't right and something was missing. And I don't know if you can relate to this, but I think when you're bi or like, I really am pan, but I use the two kind of.
I do too.
Interchangeably, you know what I mean? But I think when you identify that way, you don't feel that feeling of something's missing here because I was feeling sparks with my past boyfriends.
Right. It was
past guys.
The relationships that we've had with men were valid and fulfilling. So it wasn't like, wait a second, like this isn't, when am I going to feel that spark? Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's honestly why a lot of women come out later who
Yeah.
identify as bi or pan. And obviously compet is a
bitch.
Motherfucker. Yeah.
Yes.
And it's also that, you know, it's not being taught to explore anything else or question anything. And I slept with a girl in college and I remember still being like, I'm straight.
Yes.
Because I think also when you are more feminine presenting, it's then also the male gaze. It's a fetish. It's you can be a girl and fuck a girl.
Yeah.
Excuse my French. No. But and be straight.
Yeah.
You know?
No, right. I remember in college, so for me, like this would have been like 2011, 2012. Like I would be kissing girls almost every time I went out to the club and was like drinking and stuff, whatever. And it was like, it doesn't count because it's a girl. And like just this rhetoric that was so prevalent at that time.
Totally.
Which
you
only
would
10
validate
years
yourself
ago.
because you're getting invalidated by society.
Yes.
I remember my first ever kiss was with a guy and a girl at the same time. It was a 3-way kiss.
Oh my God. That's like very bi, very pan.
Right,
like,
right. But
not, you know.
Even then I was like, well, I'm kissing the guy and the girl is my friend and we're just, this is hot.
Yeah.
You know?
And like girls just fool around and like that's what girls do.
It's
and it's like,
I feel like I need to sit up. I feel like my posture is like,
oh yeah, no, you're good. It's
terrible.
Also, it's like, you know, if we're sitting here for an hour, like you got to move around a little bit.
I have scoliosis and I
do you?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I find myself, no, it's fine. They caught it too late, so I never got to like fix it.
Oh no.
But I find myself like bending over, and then I just like caught a glimpse of myself in the camera and I'm like fully like in a ball. Like I need to, it's also so little on the screen. So I'm like,
I know
I
it
can't
is.
see that well, which is good. But
I know.
Like,
if I could see myself better, I would be distracted the entire time.
It's like when you're on Zoom,
FaceTime. Yeah, no, it's I can't do it. I have ADD, and I also I'm like,
always perceiving ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay, sorry, getting off.
So no, this is good. This is rich. Okay, so you did not know who your ex was.
No, nothing about her.
You got together.
Yes. And then we kind of started, again, it felt very natural. And I honestly attribute a lot of that also to my siblings also already having queer experiences.
Yeah, that's huge.
So lucky. Like it just felt so normal. One day I just thought, I like this person and this person just happens to be a girl.
Yeah.
You know, even so to a point where my mom, with 6 kids, my mom knows things before I ever get to tell her things. Like she just knows all the tea all the time. And she called me one day just to catch up. And then she just said, oh, and how's it going with Shannon? And I was like, oh, it's good. And that was the like acknowledgement.
Wow.
Right.
That is cool.
Such a privilege and how it should be.
Yeah.
No one should ever have to
exactly.
But it's weird too. I didn't even really, like I just started posting her on my Instagram one day. I never was like, hey everyone, I'm not straight. Yes, I like wonder what my hometown people think that one day all of a sudden I just like have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I never acknowledged it.
And especially because you had been in a relationship with your ex-boyfriend not like too long before, you know, it wasn't like years before or something.
Totally.
So there's that too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. So we started talking, and this was during the time, I think this provides some context to the song situation as well.
Yes.
Because when we started talking, I think it was late July of 2020. And during this time, she was having her ex, Carrie, was rolling out her sex tapes album.
Oh, album. Okay.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah. If you don't know.
What?
It's an album.
Okay.
It's an album that was basically about her relationship with Shannon.
Okay.
And then Shannon shot all of the music videos.
Was that Bitter? Was Bitter on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Yep.
So when we were when we first started talking, that was what was happening. And they had never confirmed their relationship. So I started talking to this girl. Again, I am so in the dark.
Yeah.
I just know nothing. All I'm focused on is like, there's a girl and I like her.
Yeah.
And I'm dealing with my own feelings about
your own
that.
experience of that. Yeah. Which is a lot.
Yes. And then all of a sudden it's like, and because I was so, I don't want to use the word naive, but just out of the gay world.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand the magnitude of what was happening. I just was like, okay, Carrie's putting out this album and Shannon's, but like in no way was my mind like, this is huge. This is big.
Yeah,
you know? I was like, okay, so us starting talking was them announcing that they had been dating for 4 years, and here's all this content of us being together that we never shared before. Voice notes, videos, pictures.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Like, wait, I might be in over my head.
Yeah.
Like, so after about a month of talking, that's when stuff kind of started to like roll out. Mm-hmm. And I remember I went over her house one day and I just said like, hey, this is a lot, not just for me, like for you. This is a lot for anyone to be going through. And I just think that maybe we should pump the brakes on this. You know, I think that this is just, I feel like you should deal with this.
Yeah.
And work on like healing from this also. This is a lot. Like, I can't even imagine how she was feeling releasing all that stuff and having the public react to it.
Oh my God.
You know, it's like heavy.
Yeah, because it dredges everything up.
Yeah.
Like,
and then the fans are like more invested than they've ever been, but you're broken up weirdly. It was like weird.
Oh my gosh.
So I say that, and she's like, no. I don't want to pump the brakes. I feel like if we do, then I'm going to lose you. And I feel like this could really be something real and whatever. And I remember she brought me these beautiful little gold tube, like $300 earrings. And so we were talking for like 2 months when that happened. And I was like, okay, fine. We won't pump the brakes. We'll just keep going as is, right?
Yeah.
And then another month went by, and then it was like the album actually dropped, and it was just too much. I was like, this is just a lot. I think it was Labor Day weekend. What's the one that's in the end of summer?
Labor Day. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was Labor Day weekend, and I said, I'm going to go home and spend time with my family. I just want to like get away. And she's like, no. I'm going to book us a camper van, and we're going to, you know, it was always this like thing where I just constantly felt like, okay, like she's being reassuring. It was overwhelming, but she's being reassuring. And I think the issue with that was it was a lot. It was a lot. And then around maybe about 3 months of talking, I started to say, okay, hey, it's been 3 months of intense talking, like spending a lot of time together, whatever. Do you see this being a relationship? Because if you don't, let's stop, because that's where I see this going.
Yeah.
And she was like, no, I completely see it going that way. I'm not ready right this second, but yes, I see it
to make it exclusive.
It was weird because we were pretty much exclusive.
Okay.
Like from the beginning.
Okay.
Which is like bizarre, but it was also COVID. It
okay.
wasn't as like datey. People
you were just hanging out.
Dating.
It was more like at houses.
Because it was so we were saying things that were so intimate, it really felt like a relationship from like day one.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So after those 3 months, I was like, no problem. but like soon, right? And she was like, yes. Then at month 6, it became just an issue. And I was like, listen, I just want you to know we are girlfriends. Everyone refers to us as girlfriends.
Yeah.
We are exclusive. We spend every day together, like unhealthily.
Yeah.
We're codependent, genuinely. And
we're codependent. We need to put a label on it, at least.
Literally. And I was so anxious about it. I would wake up, my friends and family probably wanted to slap me across the fucking face because I just would go and I would cry to them and be like, I don't understand, like, what's wrong with me? Why doesn't this person want to commit to me?
Yeah.
And it felt like it was lingering issues from her past. And that frustrated me too, because I'm like, I tried to be the one to say, you should process these things before we...
Right.
And you didn't want to, and you said it was all good, and now you're saying you need to... And it was just messy, and I just was like, listen, I don't know what to do about this. We almost broke... can't even call it breaking up. We weren't in a relationship, but...
Parted ways. Yes. Almost parted ways.
Yeah, so it was... Then that was the issue, and when I tell you, like, then... That was in January. It was 6 months. And then February. And then March. And then April. And then finally in April, we're like drunk in the back of a car. Left a party. And she was like, you know, everyone calls you my girlfriend anyways. Like, yeah, we should just be girlfriends. And I was like, no.
Oh, no.
I was like, you're not asking me like this. Like,
no, absolutely.
And I said, tomorrow morning when we wake up in bed, ask me sober.
Yeah.
And the answer will be yes.
Right. Wait, so 9 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So then that was in April, and I was like, okay, well, I like wake up, I'm like, today's the day. Like, I'm getting a girlfriend today, finally. Not finally.
No.
Didn't ask. And then from April until June,
oh my
every
God.
day I would wake up, I would cry myself to sleep. I was calling everyone, what do I do? I was like, I don't know what to do. And I started bringing it up to her, and it would make her anxious. And then she's like, well, now that you brought it up, now it feels awkward. Like, I can't do it, you know.
It's been a year. What do you mean now that you're bringing it up?
What? So then in June, finally, I remember we were like I had planted a garden at a new house I was in. Mm-hmm. And it was cute. She asked me in my garden and whatever, but I remember we went inside. I was living with one of my sisters at the time. Mm-hmm. And she was like, guess what? I asked Becky to be my girlfriend, like all excited.
Yeah.
And my sister was like, what? Like,
I need to add crickets in the edit.
She was like, Bex, like, I thought you guys were, and I was like, I just was embarrassed, and I never like brought it up, like to her specifically. Everyone else I was talking to, but for some reason I lived with her and had to like look at her every day.
She probably
she
thought
was at my house every day.
Yeah,
like, I was like,
she probably thought you had just been proposed to.
No, literally.
Like that you'd been girlfriends that whole time, and then you were proposed to.
So I was like so happy, but I also remember feeling weirdly like embarrassed.
Oh,
like
that's
I didn't want to like announce it. I was like, this is just So I think that created this dynamic between us that was so... I have never been more anxious in my life. And I became so anxiously attached to her.
Yeah.
And I also want to say, like, we triggered each other. I did things in that relationship that triggered her to be avoidant, which then triggered me to be more anxious, which then triggered her to be more avoidant. And we were in this anxious avoidant cycle. Yeah. It wasn't one person. Yeah. It was very cyclical. So
outside of abuse, every relationship dynamic takes two. You bounce off each other, you play off each other. Like that's a normal,
exactly. And
thing.
I think when things end not on a great note, it's so much easier to look back and analyze all of the bad things.
Right.
It's also just generally easier to analyze bad things. We had so many happy times together, but you can't really pick apart. There's nothing to analyze. Like, when it was good, it was really good, and I was happy, and it was awesome. And and then when it was bad, and here's why it was bad, and here's what led to the demise of the relationship, and blah, blah, blah. But that was the context around, so it was like that was happening simultaneously while all the sex tape stuff was happening too, and people shipping them more than they ever had, while I'm just like out here fighting for my fucking life, just literally trying to like date a girl and be normal about it.
Right.
So it was
Oh my God.
lot.
And you were new to LA and it was during the
Yes.
pandemic. There's so many layers to this.
Yes.
I didn't even realize because I didn't really know about Fletcher and all of that until Becky's So Hot
Yeah.
came out. And that was kind of when I really got looped in to her and her music. So I didn't even know that prior to that, there had been this whole album
yeah.
and like all this stuff going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yes.
were
so that's
they...
like some context too of why like
Yeah.
I think a big thing for, and sorry, it's like hard not to jump around.
No,
when
no.
something pops in my head, I'm just like, because it's all weirdly sort of connected.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's setting the scene of the environment that all this happened in.
Yes, exactly. And I think like a big part of why it was upsetting too was being a lot of people online, their response being like, well, I would have loved if Fletcher wrote this song about me. And I'm like, this is not Fletcher the singer to me. This is my girlfriend's ex-girlfriend. Like, you know, I'm sure if you or anyone listening, like if you've ever been in a relationship where you feel that that person's ex-partner has not respected boundaries or has been just like that's the dynamic, you know. It's not this, it's this person is personal.
Yeah. I would be having a meltdown if I was in a situation like
I
that.
had a lot of meltdowns. I think like too, before it even happened, there was already situations that again just felt like, I get it. I get when you're a singer and you have, you know, they released this thing and it was public and the fans were very receptive to it.
Right.
And it was made the project do well and people were invested, and I get there's a marketing side of things, but
Sure.
again, from a personal perspective, like I would be dating my girlfriends and there would just be things that would came out pre Becky So Hot that was like I remember one year it was Shannon's birthday and we went to Mexico with a bunch of our friends and we were on this boat in the middle of the ocean and it's supposed to be having like the best time. Everyone's drinking, swimming, having fun.
Yeah.
And Carrie had released a snippet of this song Birthday Girl on their shared birthday. It's just like so fucking gay. But, you know, and it's like, yes, people can do what they want, and it's her birthday too, but she knew that people would have a reaction to that.
Right.
And people were tagging Shannon. And it then became this huge cloud over the day where we were all drinking and I'm on the boat and Shannon's like, I'm like consoling her now.
Yeah.
And it like ruined her fucking day, it ruined my day. I was trying to like be supportive, but I also have
Feelings.
my own feelings
Right.
about it. And
right.
I'm just like holding her being like, this fucking sucks. Like,
Yeah.
this sucks. And that's just like one example, but it was always things like that felt like it would like start to die down and then
Yeah.
be like, let's bring people back in. And so that's why too, when the Becky So Hot stuff happened, I was just like, oh my God. And now I'm being brought into this. Like, no.
This makes it so much like there's so much more to it hearing this background.
Yeah.
So that like realizing that when Becky's So Hot came out, that wasn't the first swing that she took at, you know, your
Right.
relationship. It
Right.
had been building and you'd been dealing with it the entire relationship.
Exactly. And I think when that happened also, like when it first happened, she had first started promoting it on TikTok as like, she really leaned into the whole like, I'm in my villain era. And like she kind of
Right.
owned that it was not,
Toxic.
Yeah, toxic.
Not
honestly,
nice.
Not nice. And even I think the first video she posted of it was like her standing in like a same outfit that I had been wearing. Cause you know, the like, God, there's just too fucking much. There's too many intricacies. You know, the song was based off of a picture that she had liked of mine.
Yes.
On my Instagram. So
Wearing the shirt that
yes,
was Shannon's.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So she had liked it. I immediately texted Shannon when it happened in real life and was like, why the fuck did Carrie just like my picture? Like,
Oh my God.
and she was like, oh, she's probably just creepy on you, whatever. We were not posting anything that people could really connect us yet.
Okay.
This was in like November, I think.
So you were official at that point though?
No.
Still not with
We weren't
Shannon.
official until June of
Oh my
2021. No, we...
Oh my God.
Okay.
Okay.
This was November of 2020.
Okay.
We were talking for a few months.
Okay.
And I even remember when I posted the picture, like 20 minutes later, I was like, wait. I texted Shannon and I said, wait, look at the picture I just posted on my Instagram. Do you think I should delete this? Because
Oh, wow.
are people gonna like? And she was like, literally, she's like, Becky, I think I wore that shirt maybe once in my life. Like, no one's gonna piece it together.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Like, she was like, leave it up, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, great. But then when Carrie
Wow.
liked it, I got scared that then because these fans should work for the CIA.
They absolutely.
They literally should hire
Absolutely.
them. Like,
Those fans and the Taylor Swift, which
Oh
like
my
I'm a
God.
Swiftie, but like not
Yes.
to that degree. But yeah, the things that people find and connect the dots on is unreal.
wild.
Yeah.
It's wild. So I archive it immediately. I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. So it was already archived. She writes the song, whatever. She puts out the song. In the first one, she is wearing an outfit just like the one I was wearing. Like hair, same. And in the picture, I'm doing this pose. It's hard to do here, but my hands are like behind my back kind of. She's doing that. Like it felt very like I am,
Yeah.
mocking you.
Yeah.
And this song is whatever. And people definitely noticed that too. They were commenting being like, oh my God, this is like, you're whatever. It's a whole thing. And then everyone after that was like her in a smash room hitting shit with like, the makes me want to hit her. Like it was a very like narrative. And then it was like she got backlash on that. And I saw very quickly a shift in the way it was marketed.
Yes.
And it was, Becky's a pop trope. It's been used forever. It's, I'm like, honestly, I respected you more when you owned that it was what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but people's opinions change so quickly online. Like, it went from everyone being like, oh, this is bad and messy, to everyone being like, wait, yeah, it's actually not really a big deal.
Yeah.
And, oh, now, Becky, you're, you shouldn't be upset about this because it's not a big deal.
Yeah, don't complain about it. Like oh God.
Yeah. So I felt like gaslit too by everyone. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like one of my big triggers, it just on a personal level, is having my feelings not validated. Right. Which is,
I feel like that has to be a universal trigger to some degree.
Definitely.
To a large degree.
For sure. But that's what it felt. I felt like, okay, this thing is happening. I feel so out of control. Again, it's two people that have this established fan bases. I have nothing. I'm just like...
You were a private citizen. You were just living your life.
Genuinely. And yeah, sure, I was dating a public person.
Yeah.
But like I was telling you, like I really didn't feel the effects of that at all. People were genuinely respectful.
Yeah.
And it was a nice time too. I think people weren't as invested in... in general, Shannon's relationship. She was older. There was much more representation.
Right.
It felt good and normal. And this just made it like, okay. It felt like it was this thing between the two of them that I was sort of collateral damage for.
Oh my God. I have the term collateral damage in my prep notes here for you, because one of the things I was going to say is that exact thing. It looked like on the outside, you were literally swept away in the tide as collateral damage of their drama and their unresolved bullshit.
Yes, that's what it felt like. I knew it was never about me.
Yeah.
I knew the song was never about me.
Yeah.
It almost made it worse because I'm like, why even involve me at all? Like, and then TikTok especially is rough because anything drama, people on TikTok flock to.
Right.
But then they also don't know so much of the context too. Like, again, it becomes this thing that's beyond any of us that, I don't know, it just got so... And it was weird too because it was big and it wasn't big. I have friends who are not part of the LGBT plus community that were like, we don't even know who this person is.
Yeah.
It's not... And at the same time, it felt so massive because I was like a baby gay being like, I want to be in this community. And now I'm being like, I don't want to be, I actually don't. Like, this is scary and I don't like it.
Homer Simpson backing into the bush.
Literally going into
I'm going to
the
go
bush.
back to New Jersey and...
Yes.
No, yeah.
And it was just weird too because it felt like anything... Oh my God, my stomach is rumbling. I hope you can't hear that.
Oh, I didn't hear anything, no.
Mike, just cut.
Cut that out. I'll bleep that out.
Literally, just like bleep noises. Everyone's like, what is she saying? I'm like, no, it's my stomach. It felt like I couldn't do or say anything right.
Yes.
Nothing I did was right. We started by being like, we don't know how to respond to this, so let's just say nothing and see what happens. And then
people ran with it.
And also anything you do, I don't know. It really reverts back to the point I was making in the very beginning of this, where we really, like, our society has created a world where we have really unhealthy parasocial relationships with people.
Yeah.
And these people feel like they know you, and they'll take things online and piece together this story that's just, and you can't respond to everyone.
Yeah.
And if you do, then they take more things and they twist them. Like, there were so many things that would happen. Like, okay, for example, I unarchived the picture.
Okay.
And when I did that, I saw so many people being like, oh my God, she loves this attention. She unarchived it. And I wanted to be like, no, like, I was on the beach. It was 2 days after everything happened. I was on the beach with Shannon and a bunch of our friends. And the amount of, again, it's not, everything's relative, right? The amount of comments and stuff I was getting, maybe to someone who has a big platform, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
It was a big deal to me to be getting hundreds of comments and DMs a day.
Absolutely.
It felt like overwhelming.
Yes.
And people, anything I would post, a story, a picture, whatever, every single comment, where's the shirt? Is this the shirt? I couldn't wear t-shirts. They were like, this is it. Da, 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 da. So much so that I was just like, guys, like, I don't know what to do. And Shannon, all my friends were like, just unarchive the picture. Everyone will go to your page. They'll find it immediately. And they'll stop commenting on. And it fucking worked. I unarchived it. Everyone flocked there. I didn't look at anything anyone said on there.
Yeah.
And then I let it die down for a few months, and then I just re-archived.
Yeah.
It was funny, like, doing that and hearing people be like, "This is why she did that." I'm like,
oh my gosh.
you know, or like, oh, I remember anything that I was a little more quiet about it than Shannon was. Like, she made some videos.
Yeah.
And I remember too, she would make a video, and people would be like, this is so out of character for her. Becky is telling her to do this.
Oh,
and I'm like,
my God.
What?
No. So, okay, that was actually one of my questions for you was, did you feel protected by Shannon? And that kind of goes to that, because, like, I feel like her making those videos in some way was probably trying to be like do something.
Yeah. It was...
But...
Yes and no, and not to her fault. I think neither of us knew. We just didn't know how to navigate the situation.
It was unprecedented for both of you.
And it felt like if she said something, it fueled the fire. And if she
did,
you know, and again, like, I just want to reiterate, like, she was going through her own feelings about it, because this was her ex-girlfriend.
Right.
I was dealing with my girlfriend's ex doing this to me, and she was dealing with her ex doing this to her girlfriend.
Right.
And so, and we also, it was like, so we had empathy for each other, but we also were dealing with our own. She couldn't just be my partner supporting me, and I couldn't just be her partner supporting her. It was so convoluted and just, you know, like.
Yeah.
So I remember, like, she would send me a video and be like, I think I'm going to post this as a response. And I would be like, I don't think you should post that. I think that people are going to just, you know, and then
pile on.
Yeah, and but I support you. Whatever you want to say or do. And she was the same. Whatever I wanted to say or do, she supported it. And then she would post the TikTok, and people would be like, Becky made you do this. And I'm like,
oh
I tried to make her not do it. But
yeah.
And that's, again, like, it's not her fault. It's not my fault. It's just people will just, I don't know, run with things and just make up their own. Like, it was like, I was bad, because also remember that these people had just recently started heavy. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Oh no, you're fine.
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Just take that out. These people had shipped them while they were together, but it was this, like, secret.
Right.
So they had really heavily started shipping them while I was already dating Shannon. So now you have these people making up this story that, like, I'm the reason that they're not together.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It was just like a losing game for me. People just did not fucking like me, and just decided that I was the bad guy. So anything that happened, it was like, Becky made you do this.
Yeah.
Oh, Becky did this, and it's Becky's fault. And that was hard.
Yeah. I can't even imagine, like, the mental health toll of living through that for as long as you did, because it wasn't now knowing it wasn't just Becky So Hot, although that was, like, seemingly the pinnacle of it. It had been going on so long. I would feel so burned out.
Oh,
I would feel so, like, defeated.
I was tired. I, like, genuinely was tired. Like, and that summer, my mental health had literally never been worse. Like, I would wake up, I would be so anxious. I was so depressed. I just was like, I felt like I was in a rut. I just felt so just off and weird. And speaking to that, I remember, we'll flash forward a little bit in our story, but there was a it's so funny, like, I don't know, just because I've never talked about this, I guess. I feel like I'm like talking about someone else, but I'm like, that was me. But I just feel like I'm like, I don't know. But
that's how
funny.
Like traumatic experiences do feel that way, where you're like removed from
oh my God,
that version of you.
That is like my MO too. Like I've been in therapy for almost a year now. I got in therapy like the week before my breakup, which was fucking godsend.
Oh yeah.
But my therapist calls me out so hard because, and I do this with people too, I talk about my trauma so casually that makes people think that they're like close to me. Yeah. But I feel so far removed from it.
Yeah.
It like doesn't feel, you know what I mean?
It doesn't feel like this intimate disclosure because.
And I'm not doing it manipulatively. I realize after, I'm like, oh, like I had to realize through therapy, like, oh, I do that. So like, I'll just trauma dump on someone and they're like, wow. And then they'll open up to you. Yeah. And they're like, wow, I've never told anyone this before.
Yeah.
Like,
and then you trauma bond, or you bond over your trauma.
Right. And I'm like, oh, I think I'm doing that so that I don't like, it's like a weird protection. Like defense.
I think that's common. I think that's pretty common with trauma. From what I've heard and experienced. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, sorry. I just go off track. So much.
No, that's fine. So you started therapy. Oh yeah, no. Yeah.
But there, like, some things I say just have nothing to do with
Okay.
I'm just like, that, there was no point to that.
It was a cul-de-sac. We went down and came back around.
I'm like, where did I even fucking start from? Okay. There was a moment where it was, I think it was end of May. And this past, or no, God, not this past. Like, May 2023.
Okay.
I was still dating Shannon.
Okay.
And we were definitely having issues already. And we went to New York for a trip. And I went to the Eras tour one night, and she had tickets the next night.
Oh God, this.
Why am I watching this with a million other people? I felt blindsided.
Yeah.
Now she's gonna write a song about this. But I just sat like comatose, could not speak. It just felt like it went on too long and it was too much. I'm like, you didn't have to go this far.
Have you ever been contacted by Carrie? Has she ever apologized or anything like that?
I don't think I would have genuinely ever talked about literally any of this if that had not occurred. I really just can't do this anymore.